I talked to him a couple months ago, and it was for about 4 or 5 minutes, and before that it had been about 3 or 4 months. One day he'll be talking about me in a friendly manner. Oh, she's my daughter, and yeah, I hope she's doing okay. Another day, he could care less, or he doesn't want to talk about me at all, or doesn't want anything to do with me. And I don't even know why. I just found it easier not to care. At night when I needed a place to stay, I'd crash at a friend's house or a friend's car. If their parents were gone in the garage, or if they had to sneak me in the garage, whatever it was, I'd find someplace to go. Before, it would be nighttime that I'd get scaredest, and it was hardest being alone at night. Even if you were with friends, it was still scary at night. And it always got better as the sun came up because the light just kind of washed it all away. And now that I have a home, I can just do that by turning on the lights in the middle of the night.
People forget about people like me and people like January and other people that are going to talk. I was out on the street with nowhere to go, no home to go to, no bed, no anything. The things that everybody up here on the Senate takes for granted. Going home, having a nice meal, having a bed to sleep in.
Before I turned 18 and I was homeless, I stayed in the bathroom at Cub Foods because it was open 24 hours a day. I stayed in front of Fox Theater downtown behind the bushes.
Yeah, like one blanket, I still froze because of the concrete walls and the hose coming, all the holes in the house.
I slept at Denny's sometimes. I couldn't afford to sleep there very often because you have to have 91 cents to buy a cup of coffee.
Because nowhere to go, we expect, nowhere else to stay.
I know a lot of other kids. There are lots more kids than me in Springfield that are homeless.
There are homeless youth in Peoria, East St. Louis, Decatur, Chicago, in every part of the state, in large and small communities. A recent study by the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless estimated that Illinois has 25,000 homeless young people between the ages of 14 and 20. The most commonly cited reasons for homelessness were emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. In fact, 38% of homeless girls surveyed reported sexual abuse as the main reason for leaving home. 40% of the homeless youth reported having suicidal thoughts, and 18% of the teenagers had actually attempted suicide. These youth come from a wide range of backgrounds: middle class, working class, and poor, white, black, and Hispanic. There are two similarities, however, that all of these kids share. They don't want to be homeless, and they want help.
There's always been this notion that kids and youth run away from home as sort of a lark, the lights of the big city. The fact is, in our survey of homeless youth in Chicago, it was real clear that these youth are not running to something. They're running away from extremely dangerous and volatile situations where instances of severe child abuse and neglect are the norm.
They were asked about 3 worries. Their greatest worry was that they wouldn't see family and friends again. Their second greatest worry was surviving. And their third greatest worry was that they were going to die. Now, these are kids that are worrying about these things.
The things that worry me most are walking on the streets, getting robbed, and not having enough food to eat.
The 3 things that worry me most are: what am I going to eat? Will I be all right when I sleep? And if God will watch over me.
People my age or our age and younger or even older need is a stable environment that they can turn to, and that's what the 2 shelters are, and that's what we're trying to promote.
In Rockford, an unusual alliance of teenagers from 8 high schools worked together to raise money and in-kind donations for the city's 2 youth shelters.
36, 37, 38, 39.
I think it's easier for us to identify with them too, since they are teenagers. And you can really sympathize with them. At our age, how difficult it would be to have to go it alone, without parents, without guidance, without any kind of anyone to show you the way or make a few suggestions.
This is my best space right here.
We take turns. Every day, everybody else has a different chore. Then we have cleanup chores, like different days. Like right there is the door.
It provides a roof over their heads, food, medical attention, and camaraderie. The Open Door, one of a handful of Chicago youth shelters, has 16 beds, which are always full. Last year, 200 teens found refuge at the Open Door, but hundreds more had to be turned away.
There's a social worker, and there's facilities for trying to get these kids, if they're interested in completing their education. There's a lot of support and help for doing what's going to help them in life.
The Harbor in Chicago's suburbs can house up to 16 girls, but it too must turn away teens for lack of space.
You're not afraid when someone comes home anymore. You don't run when you hear someone coming in the door with keys. You don't jump when the phone rings, and you're allowed to answer the phone, So it feels good, it feels safe.
It can work. That's the beauty of it. We have programs out there now, although few and far between, that are quite successful, that have between a 70 and 93% success rate for kids, and success defined as being able to get back into the system, become independent, make it.
But programs for homeless teens are scarce, and shelters only exist in a handful of cities. In fact, Illinois' shelters have only 80 beds for the state's estimated 25,000 homeless young people.
Have you ever been to ESC?
To address this need, the statewide homeless youth campaign determined that it would take $20 million to fund a range of services that could help Illinois' homeless youth move from the streets to a stable and then independent living environment. The services would include outreach programs, drop-in centers, emergency shelters, transitional housing, and permanent housing.
Thank you, Les. Thank you, everyone. Like Les said, I was formerly homeless. Basically, what I'm going to tell you is how important it is for the legislators and for people to vote yes for our budget. Because if it wasn't for the Open Door or for all the other shelters that are here, most of these people will be out on the streets.
The senators or governors or whatever, someone will hear me speaking and it'll touch their heart and they'll eventually do something about it. I think part of the reason why we're not getting help from the state is because they're not aware.
But you're trying on and see how it is in our streets. For $36, that took us a year for that.
That's what each homeless youth gets every year is $36 through the DCFS.
Oh, I'll be right.
We're trying to get more funding for a future for these kids.
Okay.
So we're trying to let them know. We gotta do it the best that we can.
Taking this to the Stratton building.
Got an idea here, we're gonna try and see if it works.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Have a good day. You too. Want to come right back?
After visiting the offices of the governor and all the legislators, the teens testified before a Senate committee.
I had to sleep with a door with a chair shimmied against the door so that nobody could come in and hurt me at night. Now I get counseling because I found a wonderful place called the Harbor that helped me, and they put me in a transitional living program. I'm sure most of you have kids. Just think, what if right now on your way home you were to get in a car accident or something happened and you just weren't there? What happens to your kids? Where do they go if there's no place for them to go? If they're going to be one of us on the street?
To further dramatize their cause, the Coalition for the Homeless held a candlelight vigil in front of the State of Illinois building. They also held other rallies and events to generate news coverage of their plight. At the end of July, the Illinois legislature passed a budget without new funding for homeless shelters. The governor's office and legislative leaders said they were sorry, but they ran out of money.
There's so much that can be done. So many dollars are spent on roads for people because they're inconvenienced by driving home on a one-lane street. That's not fair. We're inconvenienced too, We sleep on the side of that one-lane street that you're having trouble getting home on.
Is it a lack of money or a matter of priorities? For example, $14 million in state highway funds was recently spent on the addition of 2 traffic lanes and a bike path on 4 miles of a sparsely populated section of Route 62.
A conference table costing $40,000
An investigative report by a Chicago news station documented several $1 million of waste in the Illinois Tollway Department. And while 25,000 homeless youth don't know where they will sleep from night to night, the Illinois Department of Public Aid is spending $40 million on a new facility to house its staff.
Kids already have no political say because they don't vote. But if they have parents at least, you know, legislators and congressmen have to be more sensitive to the parents because the parents are concerned about the kids. But when you have kids who do not have a voice in their parents, they have no voice at all.
I think people care. Yeah, I don't think there's any question that people care. I think people don't know yet what to do about their caring and what to do with it. If we can't move the politicians with these stories, we can move the community, and the community can move the politicians. So our hope is that a large number and a broad base of groups around the state are going to come to the aid of these youth.
There's so many kids, it's unbelievable, that have had family problems but are afraid to go to shelter or to go for help. And they'd be willing to go and fight, and they have friends who are by their side and would be willing to go to fight for their friends. It's fighting for their friends.
We are announcing today that some 17 different programs across the state will receive additional funding still yet this year. This will allow them to expand the services that they offer, to take in more young people and to help those young people begin to restructure and restore themselves and find ways to begin to take care of themselves, but in the meantime provide that emergency service and care that they need for food and shelter and safety. We've also committed to next year's budget, which begins in July, to increase the funding from what has been $2 million up to $4 million. And so there will be other opportunities to still yet expand these important services.
The video was shown to legislative area networks, church congregations, youth groups, community organizations, political and legal advocacy groups. More than 100 organizations throughout the state saw the video and in turn used it in presentations to numerous organizations in their various regions. Those who saw the video met with their state legislators, wrote letters, made phone calls, attended rallies, and educated others about the problem of homeless youth.